Welcome, everyone, to the Insurance Perspectives podcast. I'm excited today to be joined by Linda Fisher, founder and agency owner at Cardinal Insurance Group. Linda, thanks for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Brad. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again, and I am looking forward to connecting. Always learn something. Linda has been helping people make confident insurance decisions since 1988. She launched her insurance agency in 2004 with a simple belief insurance should feel personal, transparent, and centered on taking care of people. Linda has earned multiple professional designations and is a nationally recognized insurance industry leader. Linda was honored as Insurance Agency Collaborator of the Year and an Elite Woman of Insurance. She is a sought-after speaker, mentor, and mastermind member and is dedicated to developing the next generation of insurance agent. When she's not supporting her clients or her team, Linda loves to travel and is fueled by chai tea. Thank you again thanks again for joining us. To get us started, why don't you just give us an overview of Cardinal Insurance?
Okay, so Cardinal Insurance is located in Traverse City, Michigan, which has for years has been a resort, kind of a retiree resort town, and has really kind of exploded in the last 10 years. The growth has been phenomenal. We are an agency that has doubled our size in both production as well as team members since COVID. We have a remote hybrid structure at our agency, and we are currently, I was involved in the Goldman Sachs SBK 10,000 program last year. Realized about halfway through the program that all I needed to do was completely restructure my agency, because for years we had been a customer service focused agency, heavily customer service focused, heavily personal lines. And I realized that it's time to build out departments. It's time to have a commercial lines department, personal lines department, time to have sales and service separated. That's what we went into in 2025. The summer of 2025 is starting to build on that.
Okay. How large is your team, and what has been your business focus?
So we have 8 agents and we have 4 support members. And 1 administrative support person. Our focus really, as I said, is really starting to departmentalize. We've always had customer service agents who just sold as part of what they did. Somebody would call in, they would have that alphabet split, or they would, be neighbors with their current client that they were servicing, and they would just write the business. And so our focus now is to start what I say kind of adulting in the insurance industry and actually focusing on becoming a sales organization versus a service.
That's interesting. That's something that our agency kind of shifted to a couple of years ago too, and just very similar of developing departments and kind of primary focuses for our team. Kind of the focus of this episode is kind of to discuss the last couple of years, what the hard market has done, the impact it's had, and then, trying to transition out of that. So, the last couple of years were very difficult years for most of us. So give me a phrase to describe the last 2 years. Remember, this is a family show. So,
So, I think one of the big things that I was pretty immediate to do is to provide the team members with the process of how they were going to, how do we deal with clients who are extremely frustrated because of things that we had no control over, right? And it's not our job to control the rates. It's our job to help the client understand what's going on. And so I pretty quickly built kind of a workflow process so that when a client called in or we contacted a client, we have a certain way of doing it based on renewal date. We reach out to a client to do a review. We're going to go over some things up front to make sure we don't have problems in the end. And those were things like, okay, let's talk about the age of your roof, right? We try to rewrite you with another carrier. There could be an issue there. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about your driving record. If you've got a speeding ticket 6 months ago that we don't even know about, that's going to become an issue. And so we were very proactive on saying, let's re-underwrite this client first and not do the robotic, I'm shopping you, that then ends in a mess, right? Then you have a client that maybe you move to a carrier and they immediately issue notice of cancellation because of property conditions, right? And maybe you wrote them 15 years ago and didn't realize they have the new pit bulls, 6 of them in the yard, or whatever it is, right? So we were very proactive once we started seeing these renewals hit, very proactive to try to reach out to our client first versus having the frustrated client reach out to us. We knew that deductibles were being changed. We knew that reinsurance was affecting umbrella, how much you could renew an umbrella for. And so we just believe firmly that if we can reach out to the client and educate them on, yes, this is going to happen, you're going to see it. Here's some things we can talk about to try to offset that. Because I think the days of a $500 homeowner's deductible, property deductible, are just gone. They're not coming back.
Correct.
It just doesn't
Right.
make sense. So for us, it was more of a thing of, let's get ahead of it. Let's educate. Let's give our client options. They can either call us, they can meet with us, they can do a Zoom meeting with us if they want to talk about the renewal. And it worked really well for us, because you have to remember that when you have team members who are thrown into something like that, who haven't experienced a hard market, right? Some of us have.
Yeah. Right.
I'm in my 39th year here. I've experienced several hard markets, but if you haven't, and you pick up the phone and you get that angry client, a customer service person, who most of them that are very, very good are built to say yes and to really take care of people. Their instant reaction used to be, oh, well, let me requote you. Let me hurry up. And that can waste a lot of time, a lot of effort, and cause a lot more frustration if that client, for whatever reason, is not somebody we can remarket to another carrier.
You described, pretty well what what the team members were dealing with: frustrated clients, not being able to come back with the best answers,
Right.
kind of trying to explain what the new normal is. So talk about the impact that the last couple of years had on your team.
Well, like I said, we've doubled in size, so that's been an
Yeah.
impact of its own, right? Meshing that, training, onboarding, mentoring new agents, and teaching, what we call the Cardinal way of doing things. I will tell you that the team members that have been with me the longest, one's been with me 9 years, one's been with me 6 years. Those team members have been vital for me in helping to mentor and teach and train what we call the next generation,
Mm.
right, of agents. And entering in a hard market, I think, is a really positive thing for an agent, because we're like, oh, if you live through that, let me tell you.
That's right.
Right? If you can make it through that. I will say that, and I've heard people yelling out retention numbers that just, to me, from where I'm at, don't seem realistic, right? We were pushing 95%. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And that includes those that die. That include, I had 3 clients last year that made it to 100, that passed away. They all 3 made it to 100, and one was a husband and wife team. So, whether they move away out of state, or whether they close their business, or whether they die, it's not realistic to get in those high 90s. And our percentage point slipped to 93.8. And I was like, yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah. Still excellent.
Yeah, I have no issues with that whatsoever, because we did everything possible. There's some that chopped, and the one thing that came out of that for us was I saw a trend, because again, I'm a person that's going to watch the numbers, and I've got substatuses and HawkSoft built in, so I know why they left. I know if it's died or nursing home. I know if it's a price shopping. I have all those substatuses built in there. So, and they're not allowed to say client request, insured request. In fact, I wish HawkSoft would take that out as a choice, because my agents aren't allowed to use that unless they have no other clue why a client left. But I saw that we, more than any other year, had price shopping going on. We were losing clients because of price. So that had me go out in the market and go, who are we losing to? And then we actually got appointed with that company in November of last year. We got an appointment with that carrier. Watching that and being aware of where are they going, why are they going, and it's, I'll be honest with you, when it's a price shopping thing, you always look at it and the team member's like, oh, we lost that client. It's okay. You didn't do anything wrong, right? A price is a price is a price. You didn't do anything wrong.
So that's an excellent point, which leads to my next question. Talk a little bit about how the last couple years have challenged you as a leader. Just the agency growth is extremely challenging as a leader, because you're pulled in that many different directions with new people. Mm-hmm. So talk a little bit about what it's been the last few years for you as a leader.
So I think the biggest thing for me, when you've been doing it as long as I have, letting go is a big thing. I read Buy You Back Your Time, and I read 10X is Easier Than 2X. I read both of those books within about 3 months, and took one of my key employees and said, I need to hire an operations manager. I'm offering it to you, but if it's not something that you think you're comfortable doing, I understand, but I'm going to find somebody to take some of this stuff off my plate. What was really important the last 2 years and what's really important to me this year is, before, my process was, I've got these great agents that are doing what we call $10 an hour work, right? They're doing the auto ID card and the certificate of it. They're doing all that stuff, which is all vital and important in an agency. But that doesn't need to be the person doing that. So each of the agents has a virtual assistant that will do some of that back end stuff for them. And that was my thought process. Now my thought process going into 2026 is, there is so much that has been handed down to them that can be automated, to happen automatically, just to connect the right tech stack, that if I can do that and take more of the service work off the agent, there is no reason why today you can't have a CSR handling 2 to 2.5 times the normal book volume if they've got those two things in play. If you've got automation doing a lot of the work, you can push a button and the endorsement's done, right? Versus having to sit there and type all this in. If you can do that and then move some of that workflow that they were doing down so that they can spend time one-on-one building relationships with clients and handling those phone calls. And that's my 2026. That's what I'm working on right now.
I agree with you. Is that how do we best leverage, our technology to make us more efficient
and not stress them out, right? I don't want the agents being stressed. I don't want them. I just don't want them. I don't want it to look like they're working on a double the book size, but they're able to.
So transitioning into this year, what do you see as the outlook of 2026? Now, every state's different. Some states are softening faster than others.
Yeah.
What does your outlook look like?
So our state we are seeing renewals download come in with negative, slight.
Yeah.
I'm seeing about a 3 to 4% rate decrease across the board in personal lines. In commercial lines, it's pretty much staying the same, other than work comp. Work comp seems to be, the big moneymaker that everybody wants, even the pool in Michigan. Once work comp all of a sudden has become really aggressive in it. That doesn't mean that the insurance itself is going to change and go back. We're not going to go back to the low deductibles.
No.
We're not going to go, percentage deductibles are here to stay. ACV roofs for some carriers are here to stay, right? So there's certain things that are not going to go back. And that's a difficult conversation to have too with a client. Okay, I got my renewal, and yet the premium stayed the same or went up just $30, but now I have a $2,500 deductible and I had $1,000. Why didn't it go way down?
Yeah.
Right.
Is what I've tried to explain and get out to our team is that my hope is that we reach this new normal of deductibles and limitations and, rate, and we start to level out to some degree. And my hope is that, we've spent so much time playing defense the last couple of years, from the frustrated client and having these, more, we've done more reviews than we probably have in the past how many years. And we're very proactive at it too. But now we've had more people say yes. The hope is that as things start to level off and we're doing less of those, and maybe we free up a little more time. So, my question is then, for, as you referenced, we need to transition from a kind of a service organizations to a sales organization. So, how does Cardinal hopefully shift from more defense to more offense this year?
So for us, it really, in fact, this morning at 8 a.m., I had an interview for a CSR, commercial line CSR. You have to have the structure first. I only have one person who does commercial line CSR, and her book is getting too large for her. So we have never been a commercial line sales organization where we've gone out and actively even solicited. We've done it. It's always been reactive. The client calling in who has their personal, who's frustrated, right, with their commercial insurance. So for us, it really is having that structure to say, you can't have more sales if you can't service them. And for me, it's a trilogy, right? Because I don't want to hire a service person, teach them this way, and then 3 months from now, retrain them because technology is going to do part of what you taught them to do. Right. Yeah. So that's why I'm so aggressive to say, I'm getting this technology piece figured out, hopefully pretty quickly, because I know what I want. And with the systems that you have available to us today, it's no longer a problem of how do I do this? That's not a problem anymore. It's what do I want? And then which program do I go to build it for me?
Yeah. So let's get into the weeds a little bit on that. What do you foresee the role of technology playing, and how does that enhance, what you and your team can do?
First of all, technology doesn't forget to ask for a VIN number if it's trained to ask for a VIN number. Technology doesn't forget to ask about gap coverage if it's trained to have that question in there, right? So not only does it take time and energy off the agents, if technology is hearing that conversation and is pulling those data points out of that conversation and dumping them, whether it's into a form or a system, right, an agency management system, if it's doing that, and then you're pressing a button to push it to the carrier to get it done and come back to you, and nobody has to physically enter that endorsement, they just have to check it in for accuracy, that's taking a ton of time and just clicking off of their plate. And that's what I'm looking to do. I want agents to understand how to go and do an endorsement, go to the carrier. In fact, we have agents that when we bring them on board, they're responsible for the first 2 to 3 months to do all of their own endorsements by themselves, period. After that period of time, just so they know how, after that period of time, they're going to have a virtual assistant who's going to go in and change the lien holder, right? Do an auto ID card. They're going to do those things for them. But I can foresee the day, and honestly, Brad, it's not going to, from what I saw when I was down at IndyTech and from what I've seen at our state convention on the IA and the technology that's being built and is available today, it's not going to be a long process to where our agency management systems have these things built into them, to where we're not having to plug and play. Because the frustration for an agency owner is if I buy this, A connects to B, connects to C, connects to D, which is my final agency management system, but all of a sudden B is sold to my agency management system's competitor or to a big cluster, right?
Yeah.
Independent agency owners, then all my data has been moved over to them for free, right? I have no control over that. So I think the sooner the agency management systems can get some of this stuff in the door for us, the data collection for quotes, and I know Lightspeed will do the transcription for us, but there's bumps in that I figured out. It's not going to work with HawkSoft right now. So if they can kind of figure out that piece for us quickly so that we don't have to count on these other 3-4 systems, we'll pay what is reasonable to pay for that, to not have to worry about the convenience or the inconvenience, not only of paying 4, 5, 6, 7 different subscriptions, but having to worry about the bottom falling out if one of them just gets absorbed by somebody and they put that one out of business because it's a competitor. That's a real issue too. And then if you've got that third link is gone all of a sudden, how do you patch that?
I think the frustration of a lot of agency people is that we get sold by somewhere the shiny objects, and this can do this and this can do this. It never comes out of the box, like
Right.
it says it's going to come out of the box.
Right.
And so then you either have, you have to get all these systems duct taped together,
right,
to work. But I agree with you. It's coming. We have to continue to learn and test, because otherwise we're going to be so far behind when it's here. We're not going to know what's going on. I mean, I can't wait for the day. I do have a question on when you mentioned that technology doesn't forget to ask for a VIN number. So are you specifically referring to like a voice AI system that is collecting data?
that
Are
pre-fills
you
the
using
parts for you.
something?
We are
Okay.
not. I've tested a couple that are out there,
Yeah.
and that's the thing too, is it gets very complicated because you say, okay, A and B will do two-way interface with our agency management system, but this one that I really, really like won't do it, but it does this better than B. You know what I mean? It gets very complicated,
Yeah.
and I'm actually using AI to help me figure it out, right? Okay, here's my top
Right.
3. Help me figure out what's going to plug into HawkSoft the best. What am I only going to have one-way integration with? Because I don't want to find a solution that is temporary. I really don't. And I think we've watched agents do that. I had somebody at our state convention last week that I heard last night at dinner I was at dinner with a marketing rep and underwriter, and they said this agency owner that I know got all excited after this and went back and bought all new computers for his team. And now he can't get Lightspeed voice to plug into whatever program he's all frustrated. And I thought, oh, that's that classic chasing the squirrel and hearing about these great things going on and just going back and pulling the trigger without doing your due diligence. Because what do you do to your team, right? That's frustrating for a team.
Oh God.
A whole new program, and then the agency owner goes to a conference, comes back, gets all excited. We're going to try this. Right?
That's right.
You can't do that to your team. We have one thing that we're in test mode right now, and there are 3 of us testing it, and that's it. The 3 of us are going to test it for at least 30 days before we even talk about it with anybody of the other team members.
I made the mistake of changing too many programs and tech pieces at one time a number of years ago, and it sent our team into, I
Yeah.
mean, it's one thing if I know and I'm invested in it and I want to learn it. A lot of our team isn't built like that,
Right.
So
Right.
I've learned to build a process before for something before I take it on,
Right.
to be able to clearly define how we're going to use it, why we're going to use it,
Yeah.
and what this does, and be able to train. So,
Yeah.
eh, you, lesson learned.
Well, I think having your key people that do, so this time the thing that I did differently was took the two key people who do that every day. Because I said to a client the other day who was in my office, I said, you don't even want me to turn a claim in for you. I'm not even sure how to do it anymore, right? So kind of like we say to the agency management systems all the time, who did you test this with? Because they obviously aren't sitting in the chair doing it
Yeah,
every day. It doesn't make sense, right? So the same
yeah,
thing with your team is when you're going to do something that they're going to heavily use, they should be the ones that look at it and go, here's where it's clunky. Here's where it works great.
yeah.
Here's what we would like and prefer.
You've touched on it a little bit. So talk about so far your approach to AI, and if you would touch on if you're implementing it in your agency right now, and what what you might be benefiting from.
So I have been using AI, and mostly I haven't used Claude much, but I have used ChatGPT a lot. And I've taught the team to use it for, and here's an example. A client comes to me, is paying for a monoline cyber policy and a professional liability, but he's also paying for the endorsements on his commercial package, which made no sense, right? So go into AI, compare the two, tell me the common exclusions, tell me which is the better and why. So those things, comparing that, right, getting us that information and reviewing those policies versus hitting your F4, right, control to try to find the
Yeah,
words, the keywords that you want to find. So that's made that really quick. And then, I'd mentioned to you and Jeff earlier that when I got back from Indie Tech, I faced 7 resumes. And I looked at those and thought, oh, that's a lot of work, right? And so I thought, what if I built my own custom chat GPTs to scan these, compare them to our job descriptions, compare them to our disc profiles of our current team, compare them to our culture and our branding guide, and the job duties, and do it for me in seconds, and then provide me 3 different emails. 1, no go and why. 2, yeah, maybe, here's why it's maybe, and here's some, here's an email with questions. And then 1, no, this person you really should be going after, and here's a couple of questions. So it took me an hour to build a sales one and a service one, but they're mine, right? I own them. I can use them anytime I want, and it saves a
that's
tremendous
right.
amount. Um, the next
Yeah,
thing I was looking to build that I think I'm going to probably go to a vendor instead, because I got halfway into it and then thought, even if I get what I want, I'm not going to be able to get HawkSoft to let me plug it in, right? I've got to go to a
yeah,
vendor. They're not going to let every person who thinks
yeah,
they know technology plug into the back
yeah.
of their system. So that's why I am meeting with a tech consultant to say, here are the 3 things that I know I want to happen. What are the best, because he knows my systems, and what are the best ways for me to make that happen.
What are you hoping to have happen?
So data intake is one thing that has driven me nuts for 3 years.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
something that I actually worked with my son and said, there's got to be a better way. And he is a day trader. So he's so into that when the stock market's open, he's unavailable really. There's got to be a better way. If Lightspeed Voice is listening to the phone calls, can provide a summary, there's no reason why, and I've seen it. I saw at Indie Tech, somebody called in, talked to AI, which was the best sounding AI I've ever heard. They've been clunky through the years, but they're much, much better. Asked for the name of the business and was filling in the quote worksheet as the agent was talking with the prospect, because they grabbed and got their address offline. You can get your SIC codes offline. You can get everything offline for, that kind of information, how long they've been in business. You can get all that stuff online. So it there's technology about a year ago that I tested that would have a client go out to our website, and now they fill out just a couple questions, but would have them fill out year, make, model, all of that, and then ask them to attach the deck pages. And I said, that doesn't make sense. If you're making me attach my deck pages, get 90% of your data off those deck pages, then circle back to me
right.
with 5, 6, 7 questions. It didn't make sense to me. I know the technology is there now that it should marriage those two together. If I pull a citizen's deck page into an auto quote form, it should fill it out for me 70, 80% complete. And then I just circle back with a couple of questions for the client, right? That technology is out there and is available. And then I want to be able to click and drag that in HawkSoft and populate the client. That technology is
Yeah.
there, it's available. So those are kind of some of the things that I'm working on that would save us a lot of keystrokes, a lot of time that could be put in places that just make more sense for us.
Last question for you is, you've referenced it a number of times, and I've seen you post often in the HawkSoft user group, and always trying to make things better. And talk about the role that HawkSoft plays in your agency and how you guys are utilizing it.
So I will say that I'm a big proponent of HawkSoft. We switched to HawkSoft. I've only been in 2 agency management systems under my own agency in 21 years. We switched to HawkSoft in January of 2019, and I've said it's the last until I'm done, until I retire, because it's not easy, right, to switch agency management systems. What I loved when we went to the cloud in April of last year is there were certain things that I saw immediately that didn't make sense to me that should be pretty easy to do in the background. And so I would go in and comment, and they would go, okay, we'll do a form. And they changed a lot of things very quickly when people were requesting it. When there were a lot of votes on something, it was really quickly. When I first got into it, you could not copy a log. You would have to copy and paste to copy a log to another policy. For me, there are things that I see from my end that I'm looking at from an insurance CSR perspective of make it easier for me. And it's up to HawkSoft to figure out how to kind of do that on their end or if it's even possible. One of the things that I approached them last week at a conference was I've got a client that now has 36 policies with us. I believe he has 31 rentals, right? Or 28 rentals and then some commercial. If let's say they sell their house and they move, I've got to log in. I've got to have my VA copy that log and that task 36 times to change their mailing address. Or a spouse dies. And when I go to copy and I can see all of the policies lined up, I should be able to click which ones I want it to go to versus having her go one by one by one by one to copy these. We do it all the time in commercial lines, and that's what I was asked was, how often do you do this? In commercial lines, I do it all the time. Payroll affects your commercial GL, your commercial umbrella, and your workers' comp. Receipts affect at least 2 policies. So there's a lot of changes that you make on a client that you need to be able to do that on multiple policies. And so I will say that for me, HawkSoft has been the most responsive that I've ever had, even when I worked at other agencies, to what we on the agency owners or agency side see as making our jobs easier. They play a huge role, and they've done so many upgrades and changes that I never even thought of that you go, oh my God, they're talk to text. That's huge. That saves a ton. And now it's not perfect, but they didn't just build a system and put it out there and stop, which in the old days, a lot of agency management systems did. This is what you have. You only have 3 choices, so deal with it, right? So I'm very confident. In fact, our marketing rep for a company here, whenever she has a new agent thinking of HawkSoft, they call me and we talk through and I'll do a Zoom with them and kind of show them how easy it is with tasks and stuff. It takes a bit to get used to, but once you do, the fact that I can go in and create my own task profiles and have things automatically happen in the system is great.
I lied. I have one more question.
You're allowed. You're allowed.
You and I actually first connected at a HawkSoft user group in San Diego a few years ago. Just happenstance at breakfast. Didn't know each other at all, and we got talking about our agencies and metrics of our agencies. We both were kind of tracking similar things with our team. Can you talk a little bit about the key KPIs that you are tracking for your team and metrics that you use, and if you utilize HawkSoft for any of those metrics?
So I love the new 3-year view that HawkSoft just did, right, to give me those stats for 3 years. I do love that because I think all of us love that visual of up. We don't like the down so much. But when it's going up, ours went up. So it looked really good. I'm a constant number person to go in and check to see how we're doing because you don't really know the health of your agency if you don't know your numbers, period, right? And I can tell you that we have been working really hard with rounding emails and stuff just because of some changes in Michigan no-fault auto reform that happened a few years ago. We're seeing more umbrella claims, right? And we also have obvious and open law changed in Michigan 2 years ago. So we're seeing more slip and fall type claim settlements. And so for us, the umbrella was huge. And we have, I believe, 48.80% of our clients have an umbrella. Almost 50% of our clients. Exactly. We talked with a new carrier that we got signed on with in November, and they're like, we see 8 to 10. That's what we see in an agency, 8 to 10, 15 at the highest percentage. But again, I can go in and at a glance, I can see that in HawkSoft immediately what our metric is. I can see that clients stay with us 12.4 years on average, right? I can see those immediately. And I can know that, okay, this client's going to take X amount of time, marketing, postcard, whatever. But if they stay with us for an average, even half of that average, we're still going to make more than our money back, right? So those metrics are huge for me to see. I also love the fact that I can like I said earlier, I can sub status the cancellations. I want to know where they're going and why. right? Where are they going out the back door, and why
Yeah.
are they going out? And can I stop that from happening? I love the fact that we can tag the activities now, because I can go, who are my repeat offenders on billing issues? Who are my repeat clients that are non-pay? And can we do anything? And so last year we set a new bonus. Part of our bonus program for the agents was they would get a bonus if they got any current client on EFT, because that's going to help lower those number of phone calls coming in and those number. So things like that I can get those metrics really, really quick without having to dig and without having to manually keep a spreadsheet. I love that about HawkSoft.
Yeah, me too. When I first transitioned over to HawkSoft, that immediate data, I
Yes.
learned so much from that,
Yeah.
including, I'll just give you a scary metric that I
Yeah.
learned that I was immediately able to address because I was able to see it. I saw that one of my producers had a policy per household count of 1.3.
Yeah.
And I had no idea,
Yeah.
shamefully.
Yeah.
And that was right there from day one.
Exactly.
And that
Yeah.
gave me something to build on and to build a campaign around of we need to address this. And
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
that was very powerful.
And it's funny how so we were stuck at 2.2 for, I don't know, 2 years. And you cannot believe how excited I was in October when we hit 2.3. It's like getting a field goal that you needed in the last. It
Yeah.
was so exciting. It only went up a tick, but I'm like, yay, we finally got over that
Yeah.
hurdle.
I think that's a good place for us to wrap up. Thank you so much for your time and sharing everything.